I found my wife in the bridal suite bathroom, hunched over the sink, trembling. Her gray hair, her pride, the soft silver she had earned with time, was scattered across the tiles like fallen feathers. She looked smaller, older, broken, and from the hallway I heard laughter, my daughter-in-law's voice, bright, cruel, amused. "See, you look younger now." I didn't speak. I didn't rush to comfort. I watched. I watched my wife try to hide the pieces of herself in the mirror. That was the moment I stopped being a father-in-law and started becoming something else. I met Mira in college. She had thick black hair that reached her waist and a way of laughing with her whole body. She loved simple things, tea at sunset, old Hindi songs, gardening on Sundays. She raised our son with gentleness, with patience, with devotion. When our son brought Nisha home for the first time, Mira was nervous. She cooked for 2 days straight, cleaned the house twice, wore her favorite sari. Nisha arrived with perfume too strong and eyes too sharp. She smiled, but never with warmth. I noticed it first, the way she spoke over Mira, the way she corrected her, the way she looked at our home like it was beneath her. But Mira, sweet, hopeful Mira, kept saying, "She's just young, she'll adjust." She didn't. She learned. She learned exactly how far she could go without being called out. The changes were small at first, backhanded compliments. "Oh, Auntie, you still cook? I thought people your age just order food." "Oh, Auntie, you don't use conditioner? Your hair looks dry." Little cuts, invisible ones. Our son never noticed, or chose not to. Then the wedding preparations began, and Nisha turned the house into her kingdom. Mira was ordered, not asked, told what to wear, what not to say, where to stand. I watched Mira shrink daily, but she kept smiling, because it was her son's wedding. The morning of the ceremony, Nisha insisted on getting Auntie ready. She closed the door. I remember the sound, a soft, metallic snip, then another, then Mira's voice, unsure, nervous laughter, and then silence. 10 minutes later, Nisha walked out, grinning. Mira stayed inside, crying. When I stepped into that bathroom, Mira tried to speak. "It's fine," she said. "She said shorter hair makes me look modern." Her hands were shaking. She wasn't fooled. She was humiliated. On her son's wedding day, by the woman he chose. I picked up a lock of her hair from the floor. That was when the plan began. I didn't confront. I didn't shout. I attended the wedding with a calm face. I blessed the couple. I smiled for photographs, and I memorized everything. The guests, the relatives, the conversations, the financial discussions I had overheard over the months, Nisha's pride, her vanity, her dependence, her hunger for status. Revenge is not anger. Revenge is patience. Nisha had one weakness. She wanted everyone to think she married into wealth. She bragged to her friends that my house would eventually be theirs, that my savings, my land, my assets would come to her. She had no idea that for the past year I had been restructuring everything, quietly, legally. I transferred the house to Mira's name. I moved my investments into a trust for women's education. I rewrote my will. My son would inherit nothing. Not because I hated him, but because I refused to let her touch what Mira had built with me. Then I waited. 3 months after the wedding, Nisha began asking questions, subtle ones. "Papa, have you thought about retirement planning?" "Papa, you should add Baya to the property papers. It's safer." I smiled every time and said, "Soon." The real move came during Diwali. I invited the entire family over, relatives, friends, witnesses. After dinner, I stood up and announced calmly,
I have something important to share." Nisha leaned forward, expectant. I handed out copies of my updated will, right there in front of everyone. I watched her read. I watched the color drain from her face. I watched her lips tremble. "Everything goes to charity?" she whispered. "No," I corrected softly. "Everything goes to dignity." She didn't understand. Mira did. Nisha tried to argue later, tried to shout, tried to cry.
But my son stood silent, confused, embarrassed, and I said only one thing to her. In this house, we don't cut people down to feel taller. She froze. She knew. I saw it in her eyes. She remembered the bathroom floor. After that night, her behavior changed. Not kinder, just desperate. She needed us now, needed approval, needed inheritance, needed control, and I denied her all of it. I stopped visiting, stopped inviting, stopped funding. I made sure every relative knew why. Calmly, without drama, I told the story of a woman who cut her mother-in-law's hair on her wedding day, and people judged her without my help. Her reputation began to rot, slowly, publicly, irreversibly. 6 months later, my son came alone. He looked tired, older. "She's not happy," he said. I nodded. "She says you ruined her life." I smiled. "No," I said, "she did that herself." Mira's hair grew back, shorter now, stronger. She stopped trying to please, stopped apologizing for existing. She laughed again. That was my victory. Not Nisha's downfall, but Mira's return. A year later, at a family gathering, Nisha avoided eye contact. People still whispered. She had learned the hard way that humiliation travels faster than gossip. She had tried to make my wife feel small, so I made sure the world saw how small she truly was. I never yelled, never fought, never raised my voice. I just removed what she wanted most: access, status, power, and I did it with a smile. Sometimes Mira asks me if I went too far. I tell her no, because revenge isn't about hurting, it's about restoring balance. That day in the bathroom, something sacred was cut, not just hair, dignity, and I simply made sure it grew back, stronger than before, just like her.